Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the show. Big. I'm Old Man Troy, joined by the spectacular youngster, Kevin Cunningham, a.k.a. Kid Cunny on Twitter. Well, we did it, youngster. We previewed all the Big Ten teams. Yep, put them into 4 shows. Now it's time. The ball's going to be kicked off. I'm hoping that this is posted before the Thursday night game. But, man, it's here, youngster. Big Ten football is back. Can't wait. And, you and I are going to go through the games. Last year, we didn't do so well on our locks of the week.
Nope.
2 years ago, we were perfect.
Yeah.
I do want to say this, though. Since last year, when we did this show, the Grueling Truth, who is our host for our show, our host site, has partnered up with a company called Bet Now. So if you are an individual that likes to engage in betting on sporting events, there's an avenue for you on the Grueling Truth. Just go to the Grueling Truth. That's where you're listening to the show. Up top, you're going to see a banner. Bet Now allows you to do online betting, college, NFL, baseball. It's a pretty cool site. So if you're into online betting, easy way to do it is at Bet Now. Click on the banner on the Grueling Truth. Kevin and I do want to say, take what we say with a grain of salt. We play with Monopoly money.
Yeah.
We are playing with Monopoly money. I may dabble on Bet Now every once in a while, Kevin, but it's more or less Monopoly money when you and I are talking on this show. And I do want to say this. If you do have a gambling problem, or you know somebody that does have a gambling problem, make sure you call Gamblers Anonymous, because it is a disease. I know many people that have gotten into trouble because they are addicted to gambling. So I wanted to preface that before we get into our show. Back to the high note, youngster. It's back. Even though it's cupcake games, it's back. I will probably not watch 1 minute of it. I'll follow it on the internet, but I'm not going to watch. Yep. They're cupcake games. Mm-hmm. But there's still games nonetheless. Take it away. We're going to go through this show rather quickly.
Yes, we are. Also, before this, I want to mention there is news as you're a Big Ten fan. James Franklin, Penn State, is in the midst of a lawsuit from a former football team doctor, basically saying that a football player would get injured during a game, and the doctor would give his diagnosis, and he would say, hey, this player should be out for X amount of time, yada, 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 we have to do this and this. And he's basically saying that James Franklin somewhat kind of said, no, let's get him onto the field quicker than what you're saying. And so eventually this doctor got relieved of his duties, and he's saying that, hey, this is what happened. This is why I got ousted at Penn State. So that is the lawsuit. We're not going to get into it on this show. We want to get things moving. We want to play with our Monopoly money, as Troy said. But that is what's out there. We're not blind to it. We're going to see what comes of it. Penn State's denying it. James Franklin saying we're backing the university, yada, yada, yada. But unless you got comments there, Troy, we can move on.
Oh, well, like you said, this is not the show that we're going to get into it. Maybe next week's show it'll actually be our topic and then go over our games. We just did our preview shows. So due to time constraints, we know that the fans love us, but we didn't want to give you a lot of our voice this week. So preview shows for the year, week 1 games, that's enough for this week. Next week we'll probably get into it a little bit more. All I got to say, Kevin, as a former college coach, I respected what Doctor said, but I can kind of take what he's saying, and I'm not saying that he misconstrued it again. I want to read about it. I want to get the facts. It's been all over Western PA today. I really want to dig into it. Because as a former coach, when a player got hurt, what do you think I want to have happen, Kevin? I want the kid back on the field.
Yeah.
And so comments can be misconstrued from a coach to a trainer or a coach to a doctor. And I know that I've said this before to a trainer. Do what you need to do to get him back on the field. Now, if that meant that you could tape up his ankle or put some ice on it and tape it up and he can get back on the field, great. But the comment was not meant to to override any medical reasons to get him on the field, if that makes any sense to you, Kevin. In the heat of the moment, my response to a trainer is, do what you need to do to get him back on the field now.
Right.
And it's not meant to say, oh, he's got a broken leg, he can't play. When I'm coaching a game and I have to go to a doctor or a trainer, I need that player back on the field. Now, I don't want anything to harm the player, and if he can't play, he can't play. My comment is, use your medical expertise, fix him up, and get him on the field. Right. And it's not meant to break rules. It's not meant, oh, I'm going to be unethical and I'm going to win at any cost. No, my response is that. You're a trained medical professional. Get him back on the field if that's what can happen. If it can't happen, it can't happen. But I'm putting my faith in you as a medical professional to do what you need to do to allow him to get back on the field so my team has a chance to win. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So I'm not saying the doctor's wrong, but I'm saying in today's world, Kevin, people are so darn sensitive. Think of how I just stated that to you. And you know me, I'm a little feisty. You never saw me coach. But can you imagine me in the midst of a game, a player getting hurt, and me turning around to scoff at a trainer? Not scoff, to firmly say, do what you have to do to get him back on the field. Because I've said it. And you hear my voice, it's a deep, raspy voice. People today are too sensitive. It can be taken the wrong way. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing anything to harm my player. I just want him back on the field, and I want him back on the field now because he's a vital piece to us winning a game. And so, again, I'm not saying that he's misconstrued statements. I don't have all the facts. But just off the top of my head, I'm thinking to myself, man, I could have been sued because I wanted these players back in the game right away.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully that made sense to you about a little story, Kevin, in my coaching.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. I think those type of situations happen across college football sidelines every single game, not just at Penn State. So I'm with you 100%. We need more details. More stuff will come out about it, obviously, as time goes on. But I'm with you 100% there. Moving on to Thursday, August 29th, Minnesota is at home against South Dakota State. And if Troy and I agree on a pick against the spread, we will, quote-unquote, do our Big Ten lock of the week.
We didn't do many last year because I got the music all queued up and everything. They got the party music when we do the lock of the week, and I don't think we played it very often last year.
No.
I'll have to dust it off. Maybe we'll have some today. It's hard, though, right now, youngster, early in the season, because some of these point spreads are just outrageous.
It is. Yeah. We'll go through them. So on Thursday, only Big Ten game, first Big Ten game of the year. I'll be writing about it. Minnesota is at home against South Dakota State, and Minnesota is favored by 12.5 points. I have not looked at South Dakota State. I don't know what they're about. I assume Michigan. I assume Minnesota will win at home. I'm surprised, kind of just looking at it off the cuff, that they're only favored by 12.5. But again, I don't know how good South Dakota State could potentially be. That being said, I am willing to not lock anything in and play my Monopoly money here. I will save my Monopoly money for better adventures, and I'll say this, that I expect Minnesota to win at home, but I'm not going to lock anything in.
Well, it's game one, and game ones are always scary, aren't they, youngster? I mean, you look at it, it doesn't matter if you're Ohio State, doesn't matter if you're Alabama, Clemson. Well, I guess it could, because sometimes those cupcakes are real cupcakes. But when you look at South Dakota State, and I'm not saying they're on the same level as Big Ten teams, but you're buried in South Dakota. Not a lot of people know about you. I'm a Midwest guy. I've heard of South Dakota State. I've heard of South Dakota State football. I'm not going to tear up the world, but you have to remember that these schools playing against a Minnesota in the Big Ten, this is their championship game in week one. This is how they make a name for themselves.
Very quickly. This team, and I'm sure that Arkansas Pine Bluff is bad. But last year, guess how many points South Dakota State scored against Arkansas Pine Bluff?
I'm going to say 76.
No, they scored 90.
Okay.
So
that was close.
You were close. So this team's not bad. You don't know about South Dakota State. I don't either. I know North Dakota State's amazing in their level of football. They only lost North Dakota State by 4 last year. So they're good. Are they as good as your average Big Ten team? Maybe not. Is it possible for South Dakota State to beat a Big Ten team? I think it's possible. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah, if the ball bounces the wrong way in Minnesota, and you know I'm finally talking about Minnesota this year, Kevin. Yeah. I went mute last year on all Gopher games. So I'm going to say this game is at Minnesota. Minnesota's a Big Ten team, a good one at that. Guys returning. Minnesota should win the game. However, like I said, South Dakota State, and again, I don't know personnel, and I know of South Dakota State. And like you said, they're not like a little ant that you're just going to squash.
Right.
For South Dakota State, they're going to Minnesota. And this is for them. This is how they make a name for themselves. And those players know it.
Yep.
They're going to go out and they're going to play hard. They're not going to go, oh, my God, it's mighty Minnesota. They're going to go out and say, if we beat Minnesota, people will recognize who we are. It has no bearing on their college football playoff hopes.
Right.
It can help with their ranking. It really would. But Minnesota, this game to them is basically, I don't want to even call it an exhibition because it counts, but for them, it's their championship game right off the bat. Like, hey, if we can beat Minnesota, wow, look at all the recognition we're going to get. So I think it's going to be a tough game. Again, game one, a lot of new faces, things changing. I'm even going to say, Kevin, I'll go out on a limb on Thursday night that this is going to be a close game at halftime. At 12.5, I think it's going to be a one-score game at halftime. And I think Minnesota in the second half will kind of flex their Big Ten muscle and say, okay, go back to South Dakota. We took care of business. But, for example, if I'm going to go on bet now, I'm just going to say this. I would not take this game. I wouldn't take the points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess on the other side, people say, well, then you want to take South Dakota in the 12. If you're that much into betting, there you go. But I'm going to say Minnesota's going to win. I don't think they cover.
Yeah, fair enough. We're not going to lock anything in. Moving on to Friday, we'll be quicker with these games. But on Friday, Purdue -10 against Nevada. And the game is at Nevada, which is weird for a Big Ten opponent to go on the road in week 1, but that's the case. So late Friday night, Purdue at Nevada. Purdue's favored by 10. Again, I'm not going to lock anything in here. Should Purdue win the game? Yeah, they should. Could they win by 7? Could they win by 14? Yes and yes. So therefore, I'm not going to lock anything in. So I'll leave it at that.
So again, Kevin, we're talking about the Big Ten teams that we sit and we've talked about now. This is our 3rd season doing Big Ten football. And we've boasted how we believe the Big Ten is the best conference, top to bottom. Maybe doesn't always produce a national champion, but competitive teams. Purdue is one of these teams, Kevin, that can be very electrifying on offense. But, man, their defense was horrid last year.
Yeah.
Did they improve it? Well, you would hope so, right? But I haven't seen them play. I don't know if that defense has improved. I'm going off history.
Right.
The way that history goes with Purdue is, they might score 40 points, but they could give up 38.
Mm-hmm.
So a 10-point spread, it is what it is. I think Purdue should win, but I have no idea about their defense. I have a lot of question marks. I am not locking this one either.
Same here. Michigan State at home against Tulsa. also on Friday. Michigan State's favored by 22.5, which for Michigan State is a pretty big number. But it is Tulsa. I think Michigan State is healthy going into week 1, so that's a plus compared to last year. So could they beat Tulsa, especially with that defense they're going to have? They could literally, Troy, they could win the game 24-0. The offense could score 24 points, and they would cover a 22.5-point spread.
That defense could score 14.
You're correct. So, again, I'm not going to lock anything in here. It's a big number for Michigan State, but I legitimately think they could shut out Tulsa. So take that what you will. I'm picking Michigan State to win the game. Against the spread, I'm not going to lock anything in.
Yeah, I'm not going to go against the spread either, Kevin. And it goes to question marks on offense. I mean, I'm a huge D'Antonio supporter. But D'Antonio, to me, is an old-school guy. He's going to win with defense. His offense is going to do just enough to survive. Against Tulsa, yes. Should your offense be able to move the ball at will? Yes. Will it? I don't know. I don't know. Just defensively, I think they're going to get a lot of opportunities offensively to score points. Could they rack up 35? Sure. But I think that defense is going to play a big role in that. I really believe that they're going to hold Tulsa, Kevin, and we talk about 10 points. That's almost like a shutout in college. It really is. And I think this defense is very good. And I think Tulsa's, they're not going to run it. I mean, not going to run into a buzzsaw. But again, it's game 1. It's at Michigan State. They're probably going to win the game. 22.5 is a big number for a Michigan State offense that is not traditionally known lately for putting up big points. Not under D'Antonio. Offenses have struggled a little bit. So I think Michigan State wins. I don't feel comfortable putting my monopoly money on this game.
Yeah. Moving on, Wisconsin. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. A Tulsa running back said that it's possible, it's probable, I forgot what word he used, but he was confident that Tulsa was going to run for at least 200 yards against Michigan State. I'll just laugh. Yeah, I'll just hypothetically laugh and move on to the next game because that's not going to happen.
That's a bold statement. Did Wisconsin even run for 200 yards against them?
I doubt it.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And they had a Heisman hopeful in the backfield and a great offensive line.
Right. Speaking of Wisconsin, -13 at South Florida, which is an hour away from my house. So could go to the game, I guess, theoretically. I won't, but Wisconsin at South Florida. Games on ESPN. This is also Friday. All these games we've talked about so far are Friday, except Minnesota, South Dakota State is Thursday. But Wisconsin -13 at South Florida. South Florida is not a pushover. Wisconsin's better than South Florida. Wisconsin should be able to run on South Florida. Wisconsin will win the game. Will they win by 14? Will they win by 10? Will they win by 30? I don't know. But I would pick Wisconsin to win. I'm not going to put my monopoly money on Wisconsin winning by more than 13 or less than 13.
Who's the quarterback at Wisconsin, Kevin?
That would be Jack Cohn.
Jack who? Just think, if people are not Badger fans,
right?
Do they know that name?
No, they don't.
He's not in the Heisman talk.
No.
He's got a very good offensive line in front of him. He's got a really good running back behind him. It's a Paul Chryst offense that thrives on 10-play, 80-yard drives. If you have to put me in a confidence pool with the spread, and when I mean this, so Wisconsin to win by 13 in a confidence pool, and I'm sure everybody's played a confidence pool, this would be a low number for me. This would be like a 1 or 2 confidence that they could do that. Because it's just the way that I've been accustomed to Paul Chryst running offense, and you've got a quarterback that played sparingly. I mean, yeah, he played last year because of injury. Certainly didn't impress. Did not impress me, Kevin. It wasn't an upgrade. It's not an upgrade from quarterback last year. No. They need Graham in there. But again, I honor and respect Paul Chryst. If he doesn't think he's ready, he's not ready. And I'm fine with that. Because I think offensively with that big, burly offensive line and the running game that you have and a defense, we'll see. They're returning some guys. But it's grind it out. Grind it out. And even last year in the, I call it the pre-Big Ten season, Wisconsin was grinding out games, letting teams hang around. So I have little confidence in minus 13, Kevin. Little.
Yeah. I hear you, especially on the road. Last Friday game involving a Big Ten team, Rutgers is at home against UMass, and Rutgers is actually favored in this one. And this is the only game I am picking Rutgers to win this year. Rutgers is favored at home against UMass by 15 points. So,
my answer is no. So you don't even have to come to me. I'm not locking that.
Oh, you're not going to
No way in the world. No
You're
way.
not going to lock UMass.
No.
Something's fishy if Rutgers is favored by 15, right? Like UMass has to be atrocious.
Pull UMass up, Kevin. I mean, UMass isn't this big football factory.
No.
They're good, and they had their moments. They've produced some good players, but that's not a team where you're like, ooh, yeah, let's schedule some UMass on our schedule to get some better power rankings. I mean, this is going to be a good battle between two subpar teams. So does that mean 15 points? What is UMass sending their JV team or what?
Last year, UMass went 4-8. I mean, they lost to Boston College by 30. They lost to Georgia Southern by 20. They lost to FIU by 40. So this team can get crushed.
But what are they giving Rutgers the Big Ten karma? Because Rutgers is nothing to write home about.
Well, neither is FIU or Georgia Southern, but I don't know.
I don't know. We could be wrong. I mean, Rutgers should go out and put a 28-point whooping on them. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah, I know UMass isn't that good, but Rutgers isn't that good. Again, in a confidence pool, I'm 2 or 3 that Rutgers is going to cover that spread.
Yeah, for Rutgers to win a game is amazing, let alone win by more than 2 touchdowns. So I'd pick Rutgers to win. Obviously, they're, a Big Ten team, and UMass won 4 games a year ago against bad competition. So I'll pick Rutgers to win. I'm not going to lock anything in. Moving to Saturday, finally. There are 6 Big Ten games there, actually 7. Actually, more than that. Sorry, 9. My fault. Ohio State is at home against Florida Atlantic. And Ohio State is favored by 27.5 points. I have my first potential lock of the year, Troy, right here. And I think in game 1 at home, new head coach, new quarterback, I think Ohio State's going to want to put on a show, and it's against FAU, and it's against Lane Kiffin. I know people hate Lane Kiffin. So I think Ohio State's going to want to put on a show. I think Ohio State wins by at least 4 touchdowns. I am willing to lock in Ohio State winning by more than 27.5. Are you?
See, these are that crazy big number, but this is that game, that cupcake game that it's like, really? You need this much of a cupcake on your schedule? Yeah, this could be one of those 56-7 whoopings. Yeah, I'll lock it. I'll lock it.
There we go. There we go. You can play the music if you have the music in. Hi.
Yeah, I got her playing.
Cool. Good stuff. So yeah, there we go. I'm not going to get into the game more than that, but Ohio State is 4 touchdowns better than FAU, and it's at home, and it's a season opener. So everyone's going to be rowdy, and it's new head coach, new quarterback. They're going to want to get off on the right foot. I don't think they stumble against FAU and only win by 14 points. And again, you can, win by 27 and not cover the spread, but I think they win by 28 or more. And Troy thinks the same. So we're putting our monopoly money there, so to say. Moving on to the next game. Nebraska is at home against South Alabama. Now, this is the kind of line I was expecting for Ohio State. Nebraska is favored by 36.5 points. Nebraska is also going to look to score 60, 70 points in this game. Their defense is known for giving up points as well. This is not a game I'm willing to lock in, one way or the other. Is Nebraska?
No, there's a lot of hype around Nebraska and their quarterback and their offense and blah, 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 blah. Not 36.5 points worth for me.
I think they could, but I'm not going to lock it in my opinion. That's just me.
Here's the thing, Kevin. I understand college football and these coaches want to impress, so they want to run up scores. But when I look at Scott Frost and what he's trying to build at Nebraska, if he loses his quarterback, he's done.
Yeah.
If they're up by 28 at halftime,
right,
I don't think you see him in the second half.
I don't disagree.
I really don't. There now teams like Ohio State that have depth and they want to impress the pollers, the guys that are voting. Those teams like in Alabama, Clemson, their second teamers can also put up points. That's great. Scott Frost does not have that luxury at Nebraska. His quarterback goes down. His season goes kaput. I think he plays cautious if he has a big lead. I don't think he gets to 36.5. So take it for what you want, listeners. I just think you don't see Martinez playing the whole game. Not if they're up big. No way, no how. Not for what Scott Frost is trying to do at Nebraska. I mean, I could be crazy, but, logic is telling me Frost is not risking a season when he's up by 28 points.
You bring up a really good point there. I'm not going to dive into it more, but you bring up a good point. And it's one thing to win a game by 4 scores. It's another to win a game by more than 5 touchdowns. Like, there's beating a team in, and then there's killing a team by 40, 50 points. That's what Nebraska would have to do to cover the spread. So I'm with you. If we're leaning one way, we would take South Alabama on the point. We're not going to lock that in, but maybe, Troy, you would. I'm not, don't know. But regardless, I'm not going to. We're not in complete agreement one way or the other. Nebraska will win the football game, obviously. Another Saturday game, Maryland is at home against Howard. Maryland has a new head coach. They have a new quarterback. I think against Howard, they would like to crush Howard. They're favored by 30. Could they win by... So, it's one thing if you're favored by 20. I would take that. 30, no. That's too much for Maryland.
People might say that we're locking the other teams when we don't say, but people got to realize on this, like, we have to be dead set that, okay, this is where the line's going to be. It's Howard. 30 points is outrageous. But, Kevin, we've seen this Maryland offense do things that they have some playmakers. Just defensively, they're poo-pooey. But it's Howard. It's at Maryland. Could they put up 5 touchdowns and allow a field goal? Sure. So I want listeners to know, just because we don't lock it and we say, oh, that's a big spread, maybe they won't cover it, there's some doubt in our mind. That's why we're not picking the other team. That's why we're not picking Howard and saying, yeah, Howard's going to cover this spread. We don't know that.
Right.
I want listeners to understand that, because we keep saying, oh, we're not. We have to be dead set on the point spread and the team either not covering it or covering it. Because we've locked the other way before, Kevin. We've locked against the underdog.
Right.
But, no, I'm not. Again, it goes back to the confidence pool, the confidence level. Can Maryland cover by 30? You're putting me in a confidence pool, I'm probably still in single digits. I'm probably like 3 or 4. And unless I'm like an 8, 9, or 10, I'm not locking Kapui.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Maryland a year ago against Ohio State, by the way, scored 51 points. they can score. It's possible they cover the spread and beat Howard 52-7. But
yeah, but it's also possible that they win 24-10.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where my low confidence level of the spread comes in.
Yep. I'm with you. Moving on. Illinois at home against Akron. Illinois is favored by 17 points. This is Illinois. This is the second worst team in the Big Ten, in my opinion. But they're older. But also Akron's not garbage.
Akron's a pretty good. Akron's a pretty solid program.
Yeah. They're a program you've heard of, and they're in the MAC, and the MAC is not bad. The MAC, every year, the MAC gets one upset over the Big Ten. Happens every year for like the last 3 years. MAC's not bad. Typically, they play against a team like Illinois, and they pick up a win. So, again, I think where Illinois talent-wise is this year and experience-wise, that may not mean more wins, but I think they are a better team this year than they were a year ago. I'll say that. Do I think they beat Akron? Yes. 17's a bit high. Like I don't know if I would lock in Akron plus 17, but that's a pretty big.
It gives you something to think about, though, doesn't it, youngster? Because you stole my thunder. I like Akron. I like Akron over Illinois.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, go back and look at some of the Akron-Wisconsin games. Akron's got a solid program, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and look at Illinois. We previewed them. If you're listening to this show, go back, listen to the preview about Illinois. They're terrible. Yeah, they keep recruiting young guys. They keep recruiting, and they keep playing the young guys. Now, supposedly they're playing older guys this year. I just don't know what Lovie Smith is doing down there.
Troy, let me. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Northwestern, how many Big Ten games did Northwestern lose a year ago?
1.
Yeah, they lost 1 during the regular season. Do you know one team in the non-conference that beat Northwestern?
Akron.
Hey, there we go. Akron at Northwestern. They won. So, yeah, this team's not bad. And even a year ago, like, they went, 4-8. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if injuries happened. They were 4-3. They lost their last 5. I have no idea what happened. But Akron is something. So I'll leave it to you if you want to lock this in on Akron's side.
See, that's a big scare lock, isn't it? But the thing is, we get 17 points.
Yeah.
Against Illinois. You know what? I'm queuing up the music. I'm queuing it up. We're locking Akron in with the 17. Give us Akron at the 17 points. There we go.
Woohoo! Two. Go big or go home locks of the week. Good stuff. Alrighty. Moving on to another Saturday game. Indiana is playing Ball State. The game is a neutral site game. Indiana is favored by 17. Indiana is better than Illinois. Could they win by 17 right on the head? Probably. That sounds about right. That doesn't raise any eyebrows for me. I would say Indiana wins the game, but I wouldn't lock anything in either.
Yeah, I actually think it'll be a close game. I'm not as sold on Ball State beating Indiana as I am on. Like I was looking at games. And again, if you want to bet your real money, you can go to Bet Now. Go to gruelingtruth.com, click on the banner. But I want to. This is not even a game where I would hesitate. I would take Indiana, but I don't know if they're going to cover the spread. I don't know. Could they? Yeah, they could because it's against Ball State. But again, confidence level, I'm below 5. But I think Indiana starts the season 1-0.
Yeah.
Carry on.
I hear you. Moving on, there are a few games left here. One is, let me see here, Idaho, Penn State, and that does not have a spread. And then let me quickly look up.
Well, yeah, because it's just infinity.
Right.
That game's at Penn State, right?
Or FCS, yeah. Idaho's an FCS team, so there is literally no line.
So there's no line on it. It's infinity. Right. Because Penn State, I mean, if they struggle against that team, then you take everything I said in the preview show and throw it out the window.
Yeah, I hear you. Let me see if there is a spread. Michigan's hosting Middle Tennessee. I haven't seen it yet. Let me see here. 30 points? Yeah, 30 points over Middle Tennessee. So that's interesting to me because I could see Michigan unveiling their huge high-flying offense and scoring 60 and, covering that spread. So Michigan's favored at home by 30 over Middle Tennessee.
I'm in.
Ooh. Okay. All right. The Michigan
I know so here's the thing. People might think we're crazy because Michigan has a tendency to struggle in these cupcake games and let teams hang around for a while. But you and I just gave kudos to Harbaugh for adapting to the players he has. You mentioned those wideouts, Kevin. You mentioned the fifth-year quarterback. Do you really think they're not going to win by 30?
No, I hear you. I'm surprised it's not more.
I thought that spread would be more like 42-44.
Yeah.
So I'm taking my Monopoly money. I'm actually taking the money I'm hiding under the Monopoly board that I stash away, and I'm throwing it in the middle. That's how confident I am in this Michigan offense. It's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah,
and it's Middle Tennessee at Ann Arbor. Come on.
Right.
If they don't win by 30, Jim Harbaugh might want to go cry in a corner.
Yeah. So
are we locking a third? Are we locking a third game in week 1?
We've got 3. We've got one game to go. We've got one game to go. 3 locks in week 1. We only had like 5 or 6 last year altogether. So
yeah, we're like almost our total.
Yeah. Last game, Northwestern and Stanford. Northwestern is at Stanford. Stanford is ranked 25th in the country. Northwestern is not ranked. I think Northwestern should be ranked, but that's hearsay. I'll leave it to you, Trey. What do you think the line is on this game? Northwestern at Stanford.
I was usually pretty good last year.
You were.
Northwestern at Stanford. Stanford's going to get 2.5 for being at home. They're ranked. Pollers are saying Northwestern's not ranked. Stanford by 9.5.
Stanford by 6.5. So you're on the right track for sure.
Little.
Yeah, 6.5. I picked Northwestern to win the Big Ten West Division this year. So I obviously think highly of Northwestern. Not too highly, but I think highly of them. At Stanford, probably a difficult task. I think Northwestern could lose this game. And considering it'll be Hunter Johnson's first game as a starting quarterback for Northwestern, so you can see some interesting things happen, especially at Stanford, which is a team that's solid, and it's on the road.
Yeah, this is no cupcake.
Right. This is the only game in which the Big Ten is not favored. The Big Ten team is not favored.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I'm with that. I would pick Stanford to win. Against the spread, you could see it go either way, and I wouldn't be shocked at a Northwestern upset. I also wouldn't be shocked if Stanford won by 14, 17 points.
Nah, I don't know if they win by double digits, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to remember that Northwestern defense. I mean, it was one of those that people didn't talk a lot about, but they were pretty solid. They could get off the field when they needed to get off the field. They made plays. Now I know there's changes, and I know it's a new year, but this Northwestern team is going to be pretty good. Stanford is already pretty good. I don't know a lot about Stanford, but it's at Stanford. Northwestern has to travel. And people say, well, they do it all the time. Well, it's week one. There's a lot of new guys. Like you said, new quarterback. On the road, your first game against Stanford, traditionally a solid program, that's tough. That's tough. I think Stanford's going to win, but I don't think it's going to be a rout. I think Northwestern will do some good things because Northwestern's a solid team too. Confidence level again against the spread under 5. So I'm not willing to lock anything in. And I knew you weren't going to because you said you thought Northwestern could win. I think Stanford wins the game. But I think Northwestern gives them a game. But when I'm looking at the point spread, my confidence level below 5. Because Stanford could win this by a field goal. They could win by 1. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios that could play out. So I'm not very confident in that point spread.
I'm with you. There is a game I missed here. Iowa is at home against Miami of Ohio. Iowa's favored by 21.5. This is Miami of Ohio. It's not Miami of Florida.
I don't care. I'm not taking Iowa anything over 20. Iowa anything over 17.
Yeah.
No, I mean Kirk Ferentz offense. Again, he's an old school guy.
Yeah.
I know people say, well, look what the Penn State game. Okay, well, yeah, that was still. I don't have confidence in Kirk Ferentz running up scores. I can't remember when he has, Kevin. Can you?
No.
And Iowa's good. They're a solid team. But, Miami of Ohio, I mean, this is a team, they're not going to be lighting up, D1 scoreboards over and over. But traditionally, they're offensively going to go out and do some things. And I know Iowa's got a good defense, but no way. Not when the spread's over 20 am I even touching that with a stick.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not going to lock anything in either way. I think Iowa wins the game outright. So that is all the games for week 1, Troy.
So I think we agreed on all the wins.
Yeah.
We agreed that no, we didn't really agree on, because I think Stanford's going to win, and you said you thought Northwestern could eat that one out.
No, I think Stanford wins.
Okay.
I'm just not sure how much. So, yeah, I think we're in agreement on everything as far as outright wins.
And then I pulled you over on the Akron upset over Illinois. So we got one upset lock, and we got 2 other locks.
Yeah, 3.
So go over them quick here as we end the show, Kevin, as the music plays for our locks of the week.
Ohio State minus 27.5 at home against Florida Atlantic. We've got Akron plus 17 at Illinois. And third, we've got Michigan minus 30 against Middle Tennessee. There you
go. All right, youngster, that's a wrap. We'll get back with these wonderful fans next week, going over recapping shall we did our locks of the week, and then going week 2 already. Hey, look at that. Before we know it, it's going to be championship time. But enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll get back next week, same place, same time. Have a good one.